Top 10 things 20 years of philosophy taught me. Over the years, I read hundreds of philosophy books. These are the top 10 things I've learned during that time. Chapter 1. Epicurus on Death, Joy and Desire. Epicurus once said, "Death does not concern us, because as long as we exist, death is not here. And once it does come, we no longer exist." What he meant by that is when death comes, the subject you can no longer observe it. What people truly fear of death is therefore pain and change, not death itself. Fear of death is itself a fear of pain. Epicurus also noted, if you want to make a man rich, add not onto his riches, but take away from his desires. What did he mean by that? He meant low desires are easier to meet and satisfy, making you more content. It is easier to get water with meals than wine, and every desire you create within yourself also creates a want that can impact your emotional state of mind. In Epicurus' lessons, if you aren't content with a little, you'll probably not be with a lot. Chapter 2. Seneca on the shortness of life. Seneca, upon observing life, remarked, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. If one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable." Seneca's words remind us to work towards what's important. Most people fail to set goals and drift about with the wind, taking time for granted and waking up at 80, regretting the life they lived. A goal and a deliberate action to carry forth that goal is important. Seneca also cautioned people that slavery lives beneath marble and gold, meaning your need for things might quickly enslave your time to them or others. Chapter 3. Kierkegaard on Making Choices. In his books, Kierkegaard once wrote, "A leap of faith, yes, but only after reflection." What he meant by that is you create your own existence by reflection. You decide the values, the goals and morals that affects you, your very purpose. Yet, at the end of the day, when you have reflected, you have to take a leap of faith and jump off the mountain, trusting things will catch you. Most stand at the mountaintop, looking down the whole life, never taking the leap, as they fear things won't work out. If you know you'll be a brilliant artist, you someday have to trust yourself and take that leap. Take the leap off the mountain. Chapter 4. Nietzsche on Will and Obstacles. Nietzsche once said, "If you have a big enough why, you can overcome any how." In Nietzsche's view, hardships were sometimes good, because they often went hand in hand with growth and people finding themselves. He can often be attributed to the expression, "What doesn't kill me makes me stronger," saying he did not always wish his friends the best, because in life obstacles are needed to find one's identity, especially if one can find meaning in the suffering. Chapter 5. Plato on Freedom. Plato often didn't consider freedom to be of the highest ethical value, stating that it is the thing that corrupts democracies and turns them to tyranny. In Plato's view, freedom conflicted with more important values, as doing good or one's duty. Absolute freedom in Plato's case would mean anarchy, and he points out this constant push of social norms, ethics, and diversification will corrupt any moral system, making it incoherent when every man can act on what he deems to his liking. He describes it as a colorful cloth in all colors, alluring but unjust, because it dispenses equality to what's equal and unequal alike. Chapter 6. Marcus Aurelius on Perception. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your own mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." What he meant by that is you always choose how to respond to a situation. Even if someone is angry, you still have a choice if you want to get angry. In controlling perception, Marcus Aurelius would often meditate on the worst-case scenarios, like the death of a loved one or sickness, believing if those things really happened, he would be ready for them and not ruled by circumstance. He also mentions if we reduce things to the absurd, they are often easier to go without. For example, he mentions if you're hungry, you can look at meat as a dead animal. Often by simplifying what we want, it loses its hold. Chapter 7. Lao Tzu on Balance and Interconnectivity. Lao Tzu wrote, "Fill your bowl to the brim, and it will spill. Keep sharpening your knife, and it will blunt." What we should often remember is everything is connected. Your body to your mind, and also to the ecoclimate, the earth. Or as Lao Tzu would say, what is a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a bad man but a good man's job? Seeing how everything relates to everything, you'll be more humble and capable of finding fulfillment. Chapter 8. Wittgenstein on Language. Wittgenstein once wrote, "If a lion could speak, we could surely not understand it." The thing he meant by that is our senses often creates a language and the way we think about problems. For example, it would be hard for someone who has never seen color to describe its effect, and color would feel very little in that person's language. The same with every culture. Growing up in a specific location with customs leaves a specific impressions on the senses. A lion would therefore not have the same language because it does not possess the same senses. It has claws instead of hands and a different perception, a different way of growing up. Wittgenstein thought many philosophical questions were often language-based in nature. And if we could understand our language better, or its flaws, we could better understand the questions we were asking. Chapter 9. Aristotle on Virtue of Excellence. Aristotle noted that we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, he said, is therefore a habit. Most people underestimate what they can do long-term, but overestimate what they can do short-term. If you make good habits, that will quickly build into a good character. And in the end, from that good character, it will result in a good life for you. When you make things habit, you begin to instinctively act that way. And that happens no matter if you make good or bad habits. You will really become, as Aristotle said, what you repeatedly do. And that small stuff will matter greatly. Chapter 10. Schopenhauer on Limits and Art. Schopenhauer recalled, "Every man takes his limits for the limits of the world." What he meant by that is people often make mental projections about what's possible or acceptable, often derive that because of comfort and their own experiences. Sometimes you can do more simply by attempting what others don't attempt. In art, Schopenhauer often believed it was a projection of another world, one we could view without want and therefore escape into, finding some beauty in its midst. Ordinary life did not always provide. Now I have a simple question for you. What is your favorite philosopher, and what have they said you find thought-provoking? Feel free to comment below. And as always, thank you for watching and take care out there.